Welcome, everybody, to the Minions of the Zoo Tuesday edition. I'm your keeper, Skep, and with me I have minions Blind Press,
Hello.
Jenna,
Hola.
Prospero,
Hello.
and good friend of the minions and good friend of mine, Irate Prostate.
Buenas noches.
Senor, yes. It's been the tumultuous times just continue along tumultuously. There's a lot to talk about in current events, but first of all, let's go around the horn and see how everybody's doing. Blind Press, what kind of a day have you had today?
I've had an alright day. I recorded a video, which
And
I'm
what's
sure.
what's the title of the video and what's it
So
about?
it was a coffee shot, and it was about the state of Ontario public schools. And basically, I laid the blame on everyone. Just, it's everyone's fault. But we'll get into that when we get into the current events
Yes.
portion.
Yeah. Well, all right. Sounds good. Jenna, how are you doing today, hon?
I have no heat or hot water.
Oh no.
You have no feet?
Heat, she said.
What's
Not-
that? You kids, get off my lawn.
Eh,
I
Yeah.
have no feet or hot water.
I thought she said feet too until she said
why
hot
are they
water.
complaining about violins on TV?
Right, yeah. I have become Emily Latella. God.
You knew where I was going with that, dude.
I knew-
Free
I-
Russian
Hell yeah.
jewelry.
I have feet. 2 of them. But
See,
no
foos-
heat.
No heat.
So, other than that, how are things going with you? Anything interesting going on in your life?
My son and his fiance decided on their wedding date.
Oh, good.
Are you going to make that public, or are you afraid of paparazzi?
It's actually January 31st, my accident day, because they're evil.
Oh no.
Oh wow, really?
Well, they're making it into a good memory.
Oh well.
Yes,
Oh,
they
that's
are.
nice.
That's sweet.
That's actually kind of cool.
It
I
is.
think that's wonderful.
And to anyone that wants to come, good luck getting in. It'll be at the Boston Temple.
Yeah, you can't get in unless you're a Mormon.
My baby, though. I can't believe they're going to have a married child.
It's a good enough
Aw.
party. It might be worth converting.
For half an hour.
Yeah.
Well, the party's afterwards. I'm not saying on air where that is.
Yeah, it's probably not at the temple. I'm thinking
I'll be in the parking lot spiking everybody's Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew. Yes,
Isn't Mountain
very
Dew caffeinated?
popular
Okay.
with the Mormons.
Can I explain the caffeinated rule?
Go ahead.
Hot caffeinated beverage such as coffee and tea is a no-no unless there's a reason you need to drink it. Like I drink hot tea because of my thalassemia, because it flushes out that
Sure.
iron in your lungs.
Right.
Mountain Dew, Coca-Cola, all that stuff. Unless you're a Molly, I can't have a fuck of fun Mormon. You drink it.
Why does the temperature matter?
Well, we can't drink iced coffee either.
But
It's just usually easier to explain by the hot drink.
You know, as I understand it, most of those prohibitions are about prohibiting excess and irresponsible consumption of things.
Yeah, and caffeine was a drug.
I
Well,
know.
and it also has to do with some of the, like, the reason why most people shouldn't drink tea is the reason I drink it, because it flushes out the iron.
Right.
Most people don't need iron flushed out.
No, in fact, that's a bad thing.
I'm sorry, BP. What were you
I
going to
was
say?
gonna say I do have a friend who is a Mormon, a practicing Mormon, but she drinks I think 1, maybe 2 coffees, just because she's got 2 small kids and like she tried. She's like, I can't do this anymore. I have to, because she converted later
But
on in
that's-
life, I think so.
I have no issue with that. If she needs the coffee, she needs the coffee, and she's a grown adult. She can make her own decisions.
Yeah. No, she said that it's a lot of her church is kind of relaxed on that uh, type of thing.
Good. She's
All
not
right.
wrapped up
Yeah.
with a bunch of Molly Mormons.
No.
You have to
Very
say
good.
it right. Molly woman, right?
How are you doing, Irate?
I'm groovy.
Groovy is good.
Groovy, straight from
Yeah.
the 1970s.
Do, do,
Yeah.
do, do,
Well, it's also from Army of Darkness, but
do, do, do,
It is.
do.
yes.
And Evil Dead too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where it
Yeah.
originates from.
That's where it originates. That's
Because he
right.
cuts the freaking barrels off his shotgun, and then he goes with the chainsaw.
That's right.
Groovy.
Yeah.
So, you been doing anything fun, Irate?
Actually, today I ascended 20 levels of Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Nice.
This old, Genesis game from back in the day. I got an emulator. Somebody hooked me up.
That is so cool.
It was fun.
My neighbors.
It's funny as hell. And every level's like a different type of horror film, right? So there's one where they're like little tentacles just walking around, and blobs. There's that kind. And then body snatchers, and you got werewolves and vampires and zombies, of course.
Games are kind of fun. There's nostalgic, and they also had kind of a interesting. It's not just a retro vibe, but there was a particular style to them that made them kind of fun to play.
Yeah.
I go back and play Commander Keen, Leisure Suit Larry, some of that stuff every once and again.
Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah, you don't remember Leisure Suit Larry?
No, I remember Leisure Suit Larry.
Perv.
I don't even know it. But anyway, so this sounds good. Prospero, how was your day?
It was fine. That's
Anything interesting
nothing.
going on?
Not a damn thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's a good thing.
Yes, it is. I didn't spend very much time on Twitter. Went over there, decided that I just didn't want to end up hating all of humanity. Got
More
off.
than you already do.
Yes, more than I already do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I checked in on the Rittenhouse thing just to see what was popping.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Did you
Laughed
see the
myself
last
sick.
witness of the day?
Or the Grambo?
The photographer.
Oh, the photographer, the one that just flat out said, "Yes, you did."
Yeah.
After the prosecutor was like, "We didn't ask you to change your statement."
Yes,
Yes,
you did.
you did.
Oh, yeah.
And this is what happened, and this is where the room was, and this is where I was sitting, and like this guy had a fucking eidetic memory. It was great.
Yeah.
Like he was just like you said, and the prosecutor tried that whole. Don't you remember I was being so nice to you? Like,
This was a visual thing that was going on while that was going on, and it happened actually again. It happened previously earlier in the day when that one
Grambo?
witness, Grambo basically got talked out of his own lawsuit. But we can talk about that in a minute. My point is that in the background, one of the prosecution counsels has his head in his face in his hands.
He did that yesterday when
Apparently, yeah, Pincalo said he face palmed yesterday.
North Korea-
Yeah, he
whatever his name is.
palmed yesterday. He did it again today, and I just started laughing. I said, "Dude, you're just telegraphing how bad this is going." For
Well,
you."
the lady they had up there, the one that made it was Atheist Icon, and the server said, "I think Prospero is testifying at the Rittenhouse trial."
Oh, are they talking about? They're talking about. They're calling her
yeah.
Grambo. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Fuck yeah.
she was just great. I mean, absolutely great, because she just had this kind of "fuck you, I know what I saw, I know what I was doing there," and it was great because they were trying to describe Mr. Rosenbaum was babbling. Oh, I wouldn't say babbling would be the right word. No, it isn't. And she looked up at the judge and she said, um, with your permission, I think bitchy would be the way I describe him. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a woman after my own heart because she just wasn't suffering the fools.
Just to take the thing
Oh,
up
wait,
to
Skep, how was
what?
your day? Did someone ask?
I'm like the Chinese guy who says I'm cursed to live in interesting times. It just there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in my life. Most of it's deeply personal, and but it has been a bit of a stress on me. And I'm very happy to be here with my friends, blowing off a little steam at night. So less said about my day, the better, frankly. But anyway, it's lovely to be here with all of you. But to take this back up to 10,000-foot level in the Rittenhouse trial, one of the things that distresses me most about this is that we have a prosecutor who essentially is going to have to rely on the principle of jury nullification
Yes.
to get the conviction that he wants to get. This is the prosecution. This isn't the defense. We've always been a country that comes down on the side of we'd rather let uh, 50 guilty people go than wrongly convict one person. That's bedrock, the most fundamental part, one of the most fundamental principles in our current criminal law system is that we want to never, as close to never possible, convict the wrong person. And we have a prosecution who not only knows that this guy is not guilty of murder, but is actively trying to trick the system into wrongly convicting him and sending him to prison potentially for the rest of his life for simply defending himself. I really am quite concerned about the behavior of the prosecution. And there's one other thing, and I actually would like to hear Prospero's. I'd like to hear everybody's comments on it, but I especially want Prospero to think about this. Why didn't the judge, when after today's testimony, why didn't he direct a verdict of not guilty on the murders?
Or you mean sua sponte, right? Just on his own volition.
Yeah, on his own. Yeah, you don't move for a directed verdict.
You can move. The defense can request a directed verdict. It can occur either way.
The defense lawyer is really doing a good job.
He hasn't requested it yet. He may be waiting because so far the testimony is just, holy crap, is the prosecutor's case circling the drain.
Yeah.
And it could be they want to put a coda. I can understand the judge's position in not moving to a directed verdict. This is a fraught case, and he's not unaware of that.
Yeah.
He expressed concern that people.
No, only in a civil. That's civil procedure. I thought I remembered this. I had to look it up. Civil procedure. A defendant's lawyer can ask for a directed verdict, not in a criminal procedure.
Not in a criminal? Okay.
Yeah, no, civil procedure only. You're right about civil procedure, but in criminal procedure, it's got to come from the bench.
It's a fraught case. There are at least two matters before the court with this case. Homicide and manslaughter.
Yeah, but he can rule on the charges. He can dismiss the charges, basically.
Wasn't one of the counts dismissed already today?
Well, this isn't dismissing the charges. This is actually finding a verdict.
Finding a verdict. What a directed verdict is, BP and others, is basically the judge just stepping in. He frees the jury from making the decision because it's predicated on things being revealed in the trial that make it so that no reasonable person would convict
Right.
based on the
Yes.
failure to prove the case, or actually,
Further testimony is moot.
or the fact that the actual charges have been incorrectly brought.
Right.
Right.
Because there's no doubt that with homicide on the table that this is prosecutorial.
But here's the way a directed verdict works. A directed verdict, the judge says to the jury, you will mark your ballots
Yes.
not guilty.
He
And
just
that's why
tells
it's
them
called
how
a
to vote.
directed. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's called a directed verdict, because he directs them how to vote.
Yeah, you cannot find this defendant guilty based on what you've heard today. We
So
all
Blue
heard.
Wild Harry appeared.
What's up?
Hello, Harry.
Hey, Harry.
Hey.
We're
Harry.
just talking about the shit show that is the Rittenhouse trial. How you been, bud?
I need better tech support in my life. Oh wait,
feel
that's
ya.
me.
I was going to say you are the tech support.
Yeah, I've tried to hook up to an old Apple Airport Extreme I haven't used in like 3 years, and it decided that for my benefit, since it didn't like the DNS server address I was using, that even though everything else worked, it just go no. None of this is good enough. You do not get to be on the show tonight. It's like, screw you. So I'm here. Sorry for being tardy.
No, very glad to have you. Are you talking about the project that you're working on? Are you talking about that publicly, or do we?
Oh,
remain quiet?
I'm not mentioning the name of the customer because they're
Right.
publicly traded, and it wouldn't be right to mention that. But one of my customers is having not a good time with some ransomware, but they've got a very professional outfit that's coming in to help with such situations, and it'll be resolved soon enough. But it's just kind of a fire drill for everybody involved.
I understand. So you've had an interesting day.
It's probably one of several.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, as things are in place ahead of time, they ended up catching it fairly quickly, but it did spread to a lot of things. But, this is why you have backups, because you don't want people to be able to ransom your computers, encrypt your
Right.
disk, and say, give us a bunch of Bitcoin. No, how about you just go pound salt? We'll just restore
Yeah.
from backup and get on with our lives.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll also speak to the gentleman who opened that email. The gentlewoman who opened that email. God,
If that's what it
list your
was.
fucking senders.
Dude, I ended up getting one of my best customers one time because a guy who was like a traveling guy, he was going around to conferences talking about how great their product was, came back and he picked up something at the hotel, and it crawled through the wire in the hotel, and he brought it back and plugged in behind the office firewall. And oh my
lovely.
God,
Oh, yes.
this was like this terrible Ebola-like virus that just gobbled up like all the network resources. I mean, it's like literally he'd plug in and 5 minutes later they'd be, we got to restart the router. Okay, restart the router. 5 minutes later, hey, this isn't working again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, the
jeez.
Rittenhouse trial is amazing. I didn't think I was going to be this at ease at this point in the trial. I was kind of expecting him to kind of get railroaded. But now it's just kind of like, oh, well, Kyle's having a good time. His life's going to be fine.
Well,
But is it? Has the prosecution succeeded in nullifying the jury?
I don't think
I
so.
think jury intimidation is the only thing that's going to get him jail time at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the judge expressed concern over that.
As well
Yeah.
he should have after
Yeah.
Floyd's cousin.
Yes,
making
cousin.
comments.
Exactly.
Well, also and also whether I think they may have actually observed someone or caught someone who was attempting to photograph the jury.
I think they caught somebody with a phone filming it.
Yeah, well,
Filming the jury.
they're going to jail.
Yeah.
'Cause
That's the first thing that we're talking about this morning.
Yeah, well, or the prosecutor will conveniently lose that case. This guy, the interesting thing is about these investigative journalists that are being kind of intimidated by the prosecutor. In part, it might have something to do with the prosecutor is being investigated by those investigative journalists for corruption. And if somebody were to find out that he had gym bags full of cash somewhere, I would never be surprised. The guy is a shithead. I mean, he is just a shithead.
Wait, who are you saying is a shithead?
The
Binger?
prosecutor.
Oh, the
Because
prosecutor. I
there's
agree
two
with
of
you.
them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the lead.
Yeah, the
Oh,
lead guy.
Binger.
He is a prick.
There's usually
Yeah.
2 prosecutors.
Yeah, he's a fucking dick, and it's just it was absolutely splendid to watch the whole house of cards that Mr. Oops, there goes my arm, tried to construct, and then have
Yeah.
erode because he had already perjured himself in the prosecution's direct to him, and then when defense had him talking, they got him to admit, yeah, geez.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I ran across an absolutely hilarious thread. Well, it isn't a thread; it's a post on Reddit
Mhm.
that is, it's incredibly accurate. It's just this. It was obviously some anon posting on Reddit said, and these are all bullet points. I never chased Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, I mean, I chased after people about to harm Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, I did chase Kyle Rittenhouse. But I didn't have a gun. But I didn't mention the gun. Okay, I had a gun, but it fell out. Okay, I had a gun, but it fell out into my hand. Okay, I had a gun, but it fell out into my hand, but I didn't do anything with it. Okay, I had a gun, but I pulled it out on purpose and chased Kyle Rittenhouse and pointed it at him. Okay, I had a gun that I pulled out and chased Kyle Rittenhouse with and pointed at him, and it was illegal for me to have.
Yeah.
All of this happened in 30 minutes.
I just love that. Yeah.
And it's just like piece by piece by piece by piece by piece. The whole thing fell apart. And if the prosecutor was stupid enough to build an entire case predicated on a dude who had a weapon that he was not supposed to have because, oops, he a felon. Well then, the taxpayers of Kenosha should consider who's working in the prosecutor's office. I mean, this is just absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
And you still have that that slimy lipped piece of shit Stelter saying he went to Kenosha to kill black people. I mean, what?
Filter's a waste of
I mean, really, what?
microns.
Did you see the thing about the premeditated trip? He
Yeah.
made a premeditated trip to the city where his job was.
Yeah, and he crossed. One person on Twitter. I'm trying to remember who posted. Oh, it was P Dog. Posted it with the comment, "The game of telephone is real," where somebody is saying he crossed 2 state lines.
Wait, what?
It was both. He crossed the Illinois state line and the Wisconsin state line. So technically, he's right.
Yeah. to go the 13 miles from his house to work. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
This is people act. This is so unbelievably retarded.
The fun thing about this is this all happened on Sheridan Road. Sheridan Road is the big street that goes right through the center of Northwestern University. That's the big thing is crossing Sheridan Road. There were no traffic. There was one traffic signal at Noyes Boulevard in Evanston when I lived there. There are many more now. And Sheridan Road, the speed limit is like 45 miles an hour. And so you have Northwestern students darting across the road. And seriously, one would be killed about every 5 years. Darting across the road, trying to get across. That's the same road that goes all the way up to Kenosha. My point is that there are a lot of people who live in Illinois who work in the factories. Kenosha is kind of a manufacturing town, and the bedroom communities are all south of Kenosha, and many of them are in Illinois. And you don't even think twice about it.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not unusual for people who work in Massachusetts to live in um, New Hampshire.
Yep.
We all know how many people work in New York City who live in either
Not a
Connecticut
sec.
Or
or
New
New
Jersey.
Jersey.
Right.
I mean, they're all, everybody's acting like magically somehow or another there's border security between the states.
Well, we
Yeah.
can't
You
have
know, it's
borders.
just
Like it's 1793 or something. You know.
well, like you would have to, yeah, be a petition to enter Wisconsin territory.
Right.
I mean, what the fuck? This is
Now you're a Quaker. You can't come in.
yeah. We'll drag you back. It's just, it's absolutely perverse
Yeah.
how everything was reframed, the narrative. And what's the most troubling thing to me is when we look back in time at cases that we've heard about, and you start to wonder how many other cases were bullshit, that they were a concerted effort of prosecutors and press in league with one another to maintain a narrative.
Hmm.
You know,
Yes, it really is worrisome.
and with support from the police in many cases, and you know, it's how the rumors get started
Right.
that persist decades after.
Yeah.
I mean, look
No,
up Fatty Arbuckle sometime.
Yeah.
That'll
Jason
be an
Bourne.
eye opener.
Yeah.
I have a
What were you going to say, Jenna?
statement. First, Skep, I sent you something about this photo of facepalm guy that was made into a meme. Second, were there really FBI helicopters or drones flying over that night?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were withholding exculpatory evidence in this case because they had the video, the HD video, by the way, where you get to see everything, so you get to find out that the prosecutorial narrative was horseshit, and they just conveniently seem to be withholding this because apparently every single one of those motherfuckers went to the Kamala Harris School of Law.
Oh, that's convenient.
You know, there used to be some kind of code of honor enforced by the American Bar Association against attorneys, regardless of which side of a case they were on, who withheld exculpatory.
Oh yeah, that was lower than
information.
low. That absolutely
Well,
was lower
that
than
brings
low.
me into another question. With how the FBI is behaving, should they be disbanded and a new group come up? I've heard that in conversation. Remember, I talked to a lot of school moms.
Yeah. Right now, I'm finding a very, very hard case against dismantling the agency. Of course, there are agencies that I'd actually like to see dismantled before them. The TSA being one of them. But the FBI, I mean, they've had corruption problems before. See J. Edgar Hoover, please. But this is hold my beer to J. Edgar Hoover.
If you want to smile, look at the screen. That's the guy who was testifying, supposedly for the prosecution, but he almost turned out to be a hostile witness. And he's the kind of kid where, you take him into a restaurant. Dad takes him into a restaurant, and he says, and the restaurant guy says, 5 and under eat free. And the dad says, he's 5. And the kid says, no, I'm 6.
Yeah.
He's that little shithead.
He is. But he was brilliant. This is the photographer, right?
No.
This is
Mr. I used to have a functioning right arm.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
The UNICEF.
The guy who
Well, it
got
functions
shot.
as a whistle. You know?
Jesus.
On a windy day, it plays a two.
Nice.
Brutal.
So this is the guy
Harry,
who got shot in
you
the
score,
arm.
son. Yes, I like that.
It's a brutal group.
It's perfect. Place. He is FIFO.
Yeah. God,
If
what-
you had to
what
put a
fucking
face
idiot.
to that acronym, yeah,
Fuck around and find out.
yeah, Gage Grosskreutz, total
Grosskreutz.
moron, total moron, Mister. Ooh, pink mist.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
Damn.
If you watch that video, you can see
You
the whole
see-
chunk of
see
his
the
arm come
mist.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It's
and
crazed.
and it never fails to amuse me. I'm sorry, because you stick a gun in somebody's face like that. I mean, he intended to execute
Yeah.
Kyle Rittenhouse. The guy was on his ass on the pavement.
Oh yeah.
He said he was going to empty his clip into his head, into his dome
Yep. Oh yeah,
Luckily.
he bragged about
on
it.
Facebook. Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
sure did.
Yeah, and no, that was just talk. I think this prosecutor,
Oh, it was bluster.
yeah, bullshit.
Right on.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting that Rosenbaum, the child predator,
Yes,
actually got shot in the balls.
isn't it great?
That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know
Sort
what
of
this.
happy about
What,
that.
You know what Eddie Bravo says?
Fuck that dude.
I have not anymore. The
Right on.
I can't remember why it was that Grosskreutz couldn't have a gun, but he's got a conviction. I think that prohibited him having that weapon. I would like to see him charged with illegal weapons possession.
When was this done?
Pardon? I'm sorry, Jenna.
What
What?
you're talking about? When was it done?
The
No.
weapons conviction.
She.
I'd say
Oh.
when was what done? His
The guy that got the pedophile that got his.
Oh, it was Kyle Rittenhouse shot him in the nuts. One of the other people that Kyle shot. Not Pink Mist Arm Kid. The other one.
He died though,
Yes.
because he's a scumbag and
Yeah, it was referred to as an abdominal wound, if I recall. Yeah.
I'm trying to find out what
Was he the one that
Grosskreutz was convicted of.
was he the
before.
one that swung the skateboard, Rosenbaum? Who was the one that
Yes.
swung? Yeah, okay, I thought he was.
Yeah, Rosenbaum, not Huber.
Yeah, and we'd already seen somebody killed during riots last summer. Summer before last, whatever, yeah, of 2020, with a skateboard. I mean, that is a lethal weapon when it's swung at your
They're
head.
heavy.
I mean, those metal wheels collide with your head, you're done.
You could swing it flat and
Yeah,
kill something. You could swing it edgewise.
yep.
You could swing it wheels first. You could, any way you swing a skateboard.
Skull fractured.
You are going to kill
blunt
somebody.
force trauma. It's
I,
just-
I wanted to read to you the actual dialogue. It's
Thank
very
you, Peter.
short. And between defense attorney and Grosskreutz, it's really pretty fun. Defense attorney, you would agree your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, correct? Grosskreutz, yes. Prosecutor face palms. Defense, once your firearm is pointed at Mr. Rittenhouse, that's when he fires his gun, yes? Grosskreutz, no. Defense, sir, look. Does this look like right now your arm is being shot? Grosskreutz, that looks like my bicep being vaporized, yes. Defense, it's being vaporized because you're pointing a gun directly at him, yes? Grosskreutz, yes. When you're standing 3 to 5 feet from him with your arms up in the air, he never fired, right? Grosskreutz, Correct. Defense. It wasn't until you pointed your gun at him, advanced on him with your gun, now with your hands down, pointed at him that he fired, right? Grosskreutz. Correct. Prosecutor commits suicide.
Damn.
Okay, I added the last part, but it's just. Anyway, no, I don't want anybody to commit suicide. But,
When was
his
Grosskreuz's,
case did
When was his testimony? Was it yesterday?
Yesterday,
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, Nick Rekieta and his crowd were watching it and they just howled when that happened. I mean, as soon as he admitted to aiming the weapon at Rittenhouse, and that's when Rittenhouse fired at him.
Who is this? Who was watching?
Nick Rekieta and a whole bunch of other lawyers.
He
Had
has
30K watching
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, but
he has different lawyers on every day, I think.
he had both Barnes and
Viva Fry.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
David on. It was pretty funny because everybody went, oh, and Nick yells, directed verdict immediately.
They were talking about a directed verdict.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because
No,
what's
I
the
actually
point?
thought I thought I was being a little bit over the top when I was suggesting a directed verdict.
No.
There are
So
a lot
lawyers
of
are thinking that way too. Huh?
yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Because the case went up in pink mist at that moment.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Vaporized
It
just
was
like your bicep. Yes.
Yes.
And anti-personnel mine achievement unlocked.
Yeah. Really, it's just that's it. You just want that game over flashing
Yep.
over the picture of the prosecutor with his face in his hand. Oh my God, what a bunch of twats! But it is such a gross miscarriage of justice.
Yeah.
So many of these cases are now that have involved these intense public stories. It's just vulgar how this has become some kind of perverse bread and circuses,
Yeah.
using a court of law in people's lives.
And the prosecutor is trying to get a conviction because his standing in the legal community will go up if he manages to do this. They'll say, "Oh, this guy's a magician." Boy, he had no cases. His witnesses fell out from underneath him. His case was on life support, and he scored a conviction. He's amazing. You shouldn't like a guy who does that. You should want a prosecutor who comes to the judge and says, "Judge, we're withdrawing the charges because we didn't do enough proper pre-trial discovery of what our own witnesses were going to testify." And the case evaporated from underneath us. This guy is innocent of murder.
Or just
That's what he should say.
Yeah, simply say we were obviously misled by our lead witness.
Yeah, exactly. Change the story or whatever it happens to be. But in any case, they have testimony in court. God, that just it's straight out of first year law school. Of what self-defense is.
What
It's got all
that
the
journalist basically is insinuating is that the prosecutor was trying to suborn perjury, which is holy shit.
You should hear the way. Listen to this shit. Okay, I'm looking it up on YouTube. Listen to how all right. So CBS, lone survivor testifies in Rittenhouse trial. Rittenhouse survivor testifies in murder trial, and that's CNBC.
Yeah.
Man shot by Kyle Rittenhouse testifies on the second week of trial.
That is the most accurate of all of them.
Yeah.
It's got the material facts correct.
The survivor.
Yeah, the survivor. Yeah, I mean, exactly how many people who intend to commit homicide go to the police and tell them what's just happened?
No, you don't understand, Prospero. They're selling this as they were there to save the people of Kenosha.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
They were the patriots. They were the good people. And Kyle Rittenhouse went to Kenosha, to cause trouble. He went there to hunt these people like animals. And
Well,
that's why
according
he was
to
there.
according to MSNBC, he went there to kill people who look like me. And the MSNBC host is black.
Yes.
Was this
Is this Joy
Joy
or
Joy
which?
Reed?
Yeah, Joy Reid, I believe. Is her
Well,
name.
Yeah.
she is the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to dumb comments.
It's-
But
yeah, like herpes.
so you can either believe one of two extremes, that Kyle basically went there because he needed to man up and his community needed him, that he was going to help protect this property. Was there ever any information about, was he being compensated in any sort of way for protecting
No,
this
I don't
car
believe
lot?
so.
No, absolutely
Okay.
not.
So he was going there of his own accord to clean graffiti, to offer medical aid to people regardless of position, who were
Mm-hmm. He
there
was a
involved in
declared
this
neutral.
kerfuffle.
Yeah.
And then he was also involved in trying to protect a lot of expensive property.
Of
right?
his employer, yes.
But what the prosecution's trying to do is recast this as, that he is this bad man that came there basically to kill the patriots, who were the people who were fortifying freedom by burning everything down and looting.
He
And
also put out
they're
a
having a
dumpster
hard
fire.
time selling this narrative. I don't think anybody is buying this.
Well,
There's a lot of people that are buying the
No,
there's
those
a
people
lot of
already
Blue
idiots.
and-
decided that.
Yeah.
I don't think the jury, I don't think anybody in the courtroom is buying.
No.
no, the Stooges, the Blue and On Stooges, the narrative Stooges are still pushing it. But,
Well,
I,
the $64 question really is the jury going to just say, we've heard all the facts, but we think this guy Rittenhouse is a jerk, so let's send him up for murder because he's an asshole and he disagrees with us politically. Is
could
that
happen.
I think that is actually a highly likely outcome.
well, the
Or just say
defense
he
is,
just stayed home,
reverse
none of this would have
reverse OJ.
does
It'll
the,
reverse
sorry.
OJ. Yeah. No,
Does-
you're right, Harry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
would the defense have the right to poll the jury?
They can poll them, but you can't ask for justification. You can't say,
No, but in the case,
why did you personally just, decide
yeah.
on this harebrained verdict, you
Oh,
asshole?
well,
you
I
should
mean,
be able
right.
to.
Well, what I mean is, if you poll the jury as to how they voted, how do you know you're not going to get a juror who's going to utter, "I voted to convict despite the idiots on this jury nullifying," and
Well,
and make a mess?
The way that they polled the jury is does this reflect your true and honest verdict? And they just say yes or no.
Yeah.
And they all, and it's a
Yeah.
rhythm, and you just hear yes, 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 yes. It's polling the jury is not.
Yeah, man. Having
moment
sat
where
on a jury that got nullified,
Well, there you go.
it's intensely frustrating. And if I were, I'm afraid I'd risk contempt in this kind of instance and say so out loud.
All that happens is you get thrown off the jury. And Wisconsin is a state that even if you get thrown off the jury, there's a number it's got to go down to before they'll call a mistrial. It's not an immediate mistrial, even if there aren't 12 people to continue, if it's a 12-person panel.
No, but I just want it part of the public record,
Yeah,
which
I
it
hear
would
you.
be. Only because it would be, I wouldn't budge on something like this. I just could not be
And-
persuaded to lie, which is what a guilty verdict would be, a lie.
Yeah.
You could
It's-
argue about the manslaughter, okay? You can argue about manslaughter, but not homicide.
Well, it is a homicide, but it's murder that you can't argue about.
Right.
It's
Sorry.
man killing man, so it is a homicide. Just for
Yeah,
for
depending
clarity.
upon what how Wisconsin words their criminal charges, murder in the second degree murder.
Right, exactly. But I even think that manslaughter, because the self-defense aspect is so prominent,
Yes.
you can't even argue for a second degree. Uh,
Mm-mm.
at most it's justifiable third degree homicide,
Yeah, I mean,
third degree murder, rather, and
and you can use your weapon in defense of property in Wisconsin too. I
can
think.
you is that right? I
I'm
didn't know if it
pretty
was
sure I heard somebody say that on the Rakita stream today when Grambo was talking about having her pistol with her. That you are allowed to use your weapon in defense of property.
just go to my magic
Did
Wisconsin legislature 939.48 says only such degree of force or threat thereof may intentionally be used as the actor reasonably believes is necessary to prevent or terminate the interference. You're absolutely right. They're just like Texas, can
Yeah,
use deadly force for property.
yeah. A lot. I mean, I knew that.
Statute 939.48 in Wisconsin.
I knew more than one state had those provisions that property was included in a semi sort of castle doctrine.
Yeah.
Um,
So
did he kill 2 people and shoot the third?
yeah,
Well,
he
yeah.
he
shot
he
all
did
of them.
he only got the arm on the third, unfortunately.
yeah,
But the other,
it was a pretty good. He did pretty well for a swing and shoot. If you know, I mean,
Oh yeah.
I saw when it went down, and that kid, for somebody in extremis,
Oh,
was a remarkable shot.
you just reminded me. The other thing about all this is we're arguing about a case. We're arguing the facts of a case where the facts were
Hey,
recorded on videotape.
Yes.
yeah, IP.
Oh, Uzi just came home and he's muting. That's all.
So, at any rate, so, my mind is completely blown. I'm ready for a palate cleanser. Let's
Yes.
talk.
Yes.
Let's talk about schools in the United States and Canada and things of that nature. I
Oh,
was listening to Ben Shapiro today, and he was talking about what a scam most four-year colleges are in the United States. Unless you're going for something like math or science or an engineering degree or some specialty type degree, nursing, etc., uh, where you're learning specific skills to go and learn a trade or practice a craft or whatever it happens to be. You're better off taking an apprenticeship out of high school and go learn to be a welder or learn to run a kitchen or but learn something that is useful as opposed to as he said, if lesbian dance majors, even if they're from Harvard, are generally are unemployed. In fact, if a lesbian dance major actually applied to your place of business, would you want to hire someone who had the poor judgment to major in lesbian dance? I'm imputing a few extra words there, and I think that's a fair statement. I know that a lot of our panel have some ideas about education and how silly the colleges have gone. It's just a place to go and be indoctrinated in woke speak, and not really much more. Go party for 4 years, write boring papers that no one will ever read, that have virtually no value whatsoever, and the skill of writing term papers is something they'll never use again because we just we don't write in this country. We don't respect our language anymore, and they get out. They're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, and they have a degree in sociology. Yay! And maybe racial studies of some kind or lesbian dance theory. I don't know. Blind Press, what do you think about that?
I think it's getting worse than just college at this point.
How so?
Because my video today, I was covering an article that was detailing a report that had been done, like a study that had been done out of the University of Ottawa, but it
Hmm.
had pulled a whole bunch of early childhood educators and child and youth workers, like support staff in public schools.
Right.
And it was talking about how these support staff are being physically assaulted, and I don't mean just like, you know, a little 4-year-old, 5-year-old just gets pissed off and taps you. Like, these people are getting like bitten and uh, like pissed on, and like shit
Lovely.
thrown at them, and a lot of like, unfortunately, most of these cases are not from kids with diagnoses. Like, yes,
Sounds like a
there-
zoo. It sounds
Well-
like the primate enclosure at the zoo. It
Well,
doesn't sound
and
like a
here's
school.
the problem. Here's the problem, though, is that
Not dissimilar.
there is some issue because our premier did close and defund a lot of specialized schools for children with severe autism. So they have now been shunted back into the public school system. But the children who have like really, really severe needs tend to be in a separate classroom, in a special education classroom. So these kids that are pulling this shit, right, are kids that are not diagnosed with any severe developmental issues. And
They're just immature little assholes.
they're just, okay, so yes, they're just immature little assholes whose parents don't tell them no, then send them to school and expect the schools to fix them. And then the early childhood educators are getting the shit beat out of them, and then they take it to the administration, and then instead of administrating, the administration goes, "It's your job to control this." And an early
They're
educator's
peeing
job,
on people.
an early educator's job is to support the teacher. An early childhood educator's job is not to run damage control when the kids are acting like violent prison inmates. Like,
So what are the administrators
the
doing? Are they saying
administrations
this,
are
this really
blaming.
isn't that bad? We need to cover this up. We don't want to rock the boat. Is that kind of a thing?
Yeah, pretty much, it's they're blaming the support staff and saying that it's their fault that the kids are getting this out of hand.
You're talking about the teachers.
The teachers slash principals slash, you know,
People who work at the school.
people that are, yeah, the
tea
people
ladies.
who you would usually go to when, you know, when kids are acting like insane people and you are no longer able to handle the situation, right? And they're not doing their job. So this is an entire failure of the parents not properly providing, you know, structure and discipline at home, and then expecting the public system to fix the kids. It's the administration's fault for not administrating, and it's also this is what happens when you let decades of verbal, I would guess, almost abuse from students to each other, to students to teachers and staff, from administration to student. Like, it's.
What's the solution now? I mean, given that the situation has degenerated this far, is
Honestly,
there a solution, or
I
is
don't
it
know.
time to euthanize the students and start over?
I
or
honestly
what?
don't know. Like, as a parent, I feel very very helpless right now because like, especially a parent in my particular situation, because first of all, I do not have the patience to properly educate my kids. My especially my oldest one. He's got some special needs that we're still trying to figure out, that and he and I just
Has he been
when I-
diagnosed?
not yet. We're still going through the process of
Isn't the
diagnosis.
line to get your kid an IEP, like,
That's
it takes forever?
it. Yeah, and they don't give you an IEP that's specific until you have a diagnosis.
Right.
And then so there's that piece, and then there's the blindness piece. I can't, unless I get my kids iPads that I can turn freaking voiceover on and check their work. I cannot, I can't see if they've done their work properly. I can't check, how their handwriting is improving. I can't, there's a. So I almost have to send, I have to send them to public school, right? And then then I have to worry about, am I sending them into a public school that has a problem with its students being insane, violent children? And also, what are they teaching at my, what are they teaching my kid? I have not, there hasn't been homework. I mean, I know my oldest is in grade 2, but even when I was in grade 2, I at least had shit to do on the weekends.
Yeah.
Nothing has come home. And me and Pinkala were like, what are
Have you talked to the teacher?
I do, I talk to the teacher, and they're like, oh, he's doing really well with his reading, and with, I'm gonna have to, she tells me he's getting better with his reading and his writing, but she doesn't get in, specifics of their class material, and it's, yeah, I need to, and their Google Classroom stuff is slides. So, it's not text,
Slides.
it's in slides. So it's in images that you have to look at the images, and that's what
Yeah.
the instructions are in the pictures.
Well, paper's dangerous. It burns at 451 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's important to put that on some nice, stable slides
And
Somebody
then
with lots of
Yeah.
pictures.
well,
Right.
and then the even worse
Jesus.
part is that the schools in our province are going through. There's a process that's being put in place to revisit the collections of books in the libraries and classrooms, and remove the problematic ones. And there are, thank God, even the mainstream media outlets.
So they're
in
getting rid of
Canada-
Ibram X. Kendi's books? Because those are pretty fucking problematic.
Well, so thank God, even mainstream media outlets in Canada are trying to contact school boards and go, so, what criteria are you planning on basing this removal process? And nobody's answering anybody.
Well, don't you know the book Ugly Duckland is a horrible book about self-esteem. It
Oh,
must die.
I've decided that once I get my hands on the braille display through the assistive devices program, even books that I may not have planned on reading to the kids, if I find out they've been removed, okay, we're gonna sit down and read a book.
Tonight, Black Sambo.
My niece
That was
is so-
actually a classic book. People think it's some horrible racist book, but it's not.
I want to
No,
read
it's
them
not.
the Just So stories from Rudyard Kipling.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely. They're wonderful.
absolutely.
The Elephant's Child.
Oh,
Great story.
on the great gray green greasy
Yeah.
Limpopo
Greasy
River, all
River.
set about with fever trees.
Yes.
I
It's-
love that.
Yeah,
I love that story. And I had some
Not
of the,
surprised you know it.
I had a couple of the tapes, the actual like read, and you know who narrated them? I had the Elephant's Child, and I think I had one more, but you'll never guess who narrated them.
oh boy.
Morgan
Jack,
Freeman.
Jack, fucking Nicholson.
Oh my god.
Yes, the
I am-
Elephant's Child, narrated by Jack Nicholson.
I'm trying to imagine the great great green greasy Limpopo
It's
River all
great.
set about with fever trees.
It's
Yes.
awesome.
All set about with fever trees.
That's exactly it's exactly how it sounds.
Those fucking fever trees. Yes, just- the word of the day today, kids, is Uncle Jack's gonna teach you how to swear.
Fucking fever trees.
Yeah, no kidding. That accent is too. I mean, it's just.
Oh man,
I can never place that accent. His accent.
it's Ohio actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
If you want to know that it's a class, listen to a guy, an old actor named Henry Fonda. Now Fonda's cadence was very different from Nicholson, but his accent is almost identical. He used to do a commercial for GAF light bulbs, and you could hear it when he said GAF. You know,
Yeah.
that think about somebody smiling and drawing out their A's.
Yeah.
And that's that Ohio
Yeah,
Valley,
yeah.
Southern Ohio accent.
Is that
Yeah.
the Jane Fonda's father?
Yes, that is
Yep.
Jane
I was
Fonda's
just gonna
father.
ask that.
Yep,
Yeah.
Jane Fonda, Peter Honda, both were offspring of
Peter
his.
Honda, I love it.
Yeah. That was straight from Mad Magazine, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
Get your
proper
motor
attribution.
running. The speaking of Jack Nicholson, the Jack Nicholson Peter Fonda crossover.
Oh, we're going to talk about, what is it, Easy Rider?
Easy
Five
Rider,
Easy-
yeah.
I do want to address your question, Skep.
Yes, please.
Before we go off into something more fun, I was
Yeah,
thinking about this. Well, I've actually been thinking about this pretty much nonstop. And to my mind, this discussion about higher education, it seems like it kind of gets out of hand to me. It starts to sound almost like a MGTOW argument. You know, you go, women are terrible and they'll take all your stuff and make you pay child support forever. I'm just not going to have any. You know, that's sort of the argument that you get. And that's sort of how people are approaching education. They're like, higher education's dumb. It costs you too much money and it's full of communists. So I'm not going to get any. But the problem is there are people who actually benefit from it. I do think that all these people taking lesbian basket weaving / dance studies would be much better off doing literally anything else.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, so if college is expensive and people get assistance based on achievement, then you would think that the best, most qualified people would get an advantage and would get a lot of their education paid for and would go there. So if you're looking for research chemists, very few people come out of high school with the background necessary to even work under a research chemist.
No, that's it.
You know,
That's
as a for
absolutely true.
instance.
But you know, we were kind of accepting science and engineering and specific trades, you know, nursing and the like from this characterization, where it is, at least from the point of view I was trying to put forward, was that things like Les theory and even political science, you know,
I was hoping you'd say political science, but I would actually defend sociology a little bit. There are people who, I mean, sociology covers a lot of different things, like the
if you're
optimal
if you're actually studying sociology.
Yeah.
of course, like the optimal shape of a traffic cone, how to build
Yes.
cities that are more livable, these types of things all fall under the
Demographic
broad-
engineering.
Demographers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there
there's-
are things that people do in sociology, and then there's also people who just say, well, I just went around and gathered people's stories and made a tapestry to go with it and did a dance performance for my thesis. I don't know. Those people should just really find something else to do. It shouldn't be adult daycare for these people. But I think as far as people who need training, we should probably have things that are like ITT tech, and we should have places where you learn how to repair a boiler and all these sorts of things. But there is a place for higher education, and there is a place for people who perform really well to talk about things like philosophy and art history and stuff like that. We just shouldn't be turning out tens of thousands of these people a year.
Right.
The
We
guy-
don't
That's
need that many.
pointless.
The guy who is the director of applications at the company my husband retired from, his degree is from ECPI. It's a certificate. It's basically an associate's degree.
One of the best programmers I ever met, well, several of the best programmers I met were philosophy majors.
Yeah, I mean,
But the thing was, the philosophy they studied had a lot of logic. So you get somebody with that level of, if you can make your way through Schopenhauer and Heidegger and stuff like that, you can learn about programming. It is actually
it'll either break
transferable.
you, or you will have, Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, this guy knows his stuff. He just didn't have the money, and he's very good at what he does, and he has learned on jobs, and applies that, and is a quick study. And
I know. I hired people like this. I had a couple students who dropped out of university because they were just too high strung to be in there. They were two of the best code developers I ever had working for me. And one of them has gone on to work for. Well, I shouldn't say which company. I don't want to dox the
don't
guy,
say
but
that.
he's an extremely highly placed BSD developer at a major company that you would recognize. So, it's these people go on and they're extremely successful. It used to be that, like in computer science, I think a university education really meant something. Now I'm not so sure, but in terms of a lot of the classics and in terms of STEM, I think there's still a place for the university. We just need to find a way to deal with all the damn communists. Just like, like I said, it's like the MGTOW thing. I think giving up on women is not an answer.
Well,
That's
we need
just
to
my
kick
personal
China
opinion.
the fuck out, I would think.
Well, that would be a start. We don't let them put money into our research stuff, but they like taking Chinese money for research and getting their hands on the information that comes out of it.
The same advice for moderation goes toward our philosophy toward China, because a lot of discussion with China, people say, well, we should just nuke them,
No,
get rid of the
not gonna work.
fuckers, or not do anything with them, cut them off.
They know how
That's
to-
not really the best thing for everybody. Everybody can win in this, and I think I agree largely with what Harry is saying. Everybody can win in the education business too, but it needs some toning down, some adulteration, some fine tuning, and there is a ton of dead wood in academic institutions that are being supported by these fat endowment funds that these chairs in equity studies, for example, that's a new one. And these are the equity studies professors are making more money than the chairman of the physics department at the same university.
Well,
Yeah,
look at what
attract
just
talent.
happened.
Because she's a fat black lesbian.
Well, look at what just happened at UNC. They were not going to renew. Should we use her pseudonym or a real name?
Pseudonym.
Ida Bay Wells's
Yes.
contract. And there was so much furor and so much flap and so much reminding of everyone about a Pulitzer Prize that should never have been given,
Right.
that they reneged and went, okay, we'll keep her. That woman is on fucking Twitter advocating the supremacy views of liberation theology.
Yep.
She is literally a liberation theology came out of Marxist Latin American churches. And it was subsumed into the black community in the 1960s.
Yep.
And it's
And all we got from that was Kwanzaa.
one of its central tenets is collective guilt.
Yep.
And only through collective can salvation be achieved. It is incredibly heretical from a Christian standpoint. I mean, it's just stunningly heretical. And it is fucking racist as shit.
Extra original sin for Whitey.
And it is totally collectivist. And it's married up to that Pan-Africanism of the same period, which is thinly veiled black supremacy.
Well, it's also purest
God
communism.
Oh yeah.
The Pan-African movement, and I promise not to lecture. Pan-African movement came from Julius Nyerere in Tanzania, and was communist based to its core.
Mm-hmm.
I have a headline to read y'all.
What's up?
Breaking. Fake news pioneer Brian Williams to quit NBC News after 28 years.
Yeah, he made the announcement on MSNBC. Are we sure he's telling the truth that he's quitting?
Yeah, I think so.
No, it said it. I saw an article too, and it said he was retiring at the end of the month of his contract.
Yeah.
Maybe he's going over to head up the new CNN Plus. With Rachel.
I think
They're offering Rachel Maddow $20 million to cross the street.
Oh God.
They are
$20 million a year.
Yeah, that's gonna help.
Yeah, please tell
Real
me
quick,
it's one of
though,
your jokes.
My
Yeah, all
headache
right. How's your
is-
headache doing?
My headache is telling me that I need to go lie down. So.
All right.
But Wednesdays with Skep tomorrow, are you available or?
I will be available tomorrow.
Okay.
Sweet.
So, coffee stream Wednesdays with Skep at 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central on the Blind Press YouTube channel. And of course, Star Trek stream on Saturday. And I think it was Hammer's topic of like a tech extrapolation. Like, where could we imagine the tech that we've seen in the series go after that? So I think that was that. Yeah. So that's what we'll be doing on Saturday.
And
so,
all the attendant spurg holes we can jump down.
and all
which is
yes.
characteristic of that stream, but we have so much fun.
That's
Please come
what's
and join
great
us,
about
guys.
that stream.
We do have a ball. So,
All right, guys.
all right,
have a
hon.
great
You
night.
take care of your headache. Thank you
I
for
will.
coming on.
The
It's great to see you.
Startism stream.
The
The
Startism.
Startism scream.
Perfect.
I love that.
May have
Good
just
night, you
renamed it.
guys.
Good night.
Night,
hon.
buddy.
PP.
See you tomorrow. And so we have it. But
Maybe it should be Trektism though, only because Startism, somebody might think they meant Star Wars.
that's a good point. So at any rate, Harry, do you see the point that I'm making about China? That throwing the baby out with the bathwater is almost always a bad idea.
What about the Britishers?
Harry's not here, is he?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No. I was sitting here thinking. I remember. Let's see, what was it in the 80s? People were bemoaning the fact that the United States was only producing 10,000 math PhDs a year total, and they were comparing this number to the Soviet Union, for instance. And it was considered to be a big deal. And I'm
The
just
math
thinking
gap.
there's probably a lot of things sort of like that. I mean, we need a lot of people in STEM. Where am I going with this? Sorry.
But we can't force kids into STEM
No, you can't force
who
kids into
cannot
STEM.
do it.
The best you can hope
Right.
to do is if you find somebody with a proclivity for something like this, try to kind of encourage them or nudge them. You can't
Right.
make them do something that doesn't suit their
Enthuse
character.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys
It's
know
like
what
hypnosis.
Kiwi
You can't
is?
hypnotize somebody to do something and convince them to do something that they don't want to do.
Right.
Right.
Do you
know,
guys
so-
know what Kiwi Cove is?
What Pee Wee COVID is?
Kiwi Cove.
Kiwi COVID?
Kiwi
Cove.
Cove?
Kiwi Cove?
Yeah. It's this
it's-
monthly subscription where your kid gets a box and it's STEM. It could be from art to making a robot that can actually move. And we tried them out.
Kiwi
Couple
Cove. Kiwico. Kiwi Cove box for kids. That's it?
Yes.
It's like
Gotcha.
a bark box, but for kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, it's not. My kids love them.
All right, so you pick a line. We offer projects for every age and interest. It's delivered monthly. Choose your plan, and the first crate ships in 2 days. So this is like, it has the whiff of multi-level marketing. Pause or cancel anytime. Serious fun. Our science and art projects inspire kids to become creative problem solvers. And so you find the perfect crate. You can filter by age 0 to 8 or 9 to 13 or 14 and above. You can filter by entrance. They have science and tinkering, art and design, geography and culture, and early learning. Toy boat. And then they have pre-packaged or pre-designed crates: Eureka crate, Maker crate, Tinker crate, Doodle crate, Yummy crate, Atlas crate, Kiwi crate, Koala crate, Panda crate, and so forth. They even have the one for Panda crate is for 0 to 24 months. I see these are by age. Okay.
Well, Elon
And-
Musk
Tell
would
me
approve.
it's an MLM. I'll have to cancel them.
Pardon me? What did you say?
I said, don't say they're an MLM. I'll have to cancel
What
them.
multi-level marketing? There's nothing wrong with it if it's ethically done. I mean, I can't tell if they have franchises or not. I would have to do a little bit of examination. It looks like everything is sold online and not through a sales force. So I may have been wrong about that. It just
No, you have to order it online.
subscription things concern me. Sometimes it's not easy to cancel them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Yeah,
this,
we remember the Columbia Record Club, Skep.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
is easy to
Those people are
cancel.
more ruthless than AARP. They will find you.
They will find you, and
You're
and-
going to buy
and-
more cassettes, young man.
Yeah, if you sign, it's Time Life Books was like that too. You know, if you signed up for that, may God have mercy on your soul. But so this is one of those things where you have to affirmatively cancel, and that's why I said it had the whiff of MLM. Those kinds of deals scare me a little bit. I'm not scare me, but I'm just careful about them. But it does look like this is ethical and it's sold from one place, so it's not MLM. I shouldn't have put it that way. Kiwi Co. advertised here on Minions pretty effectively.
Kiwi Co.
Well, Elon
My
Musk was
kids
commenting
love it.
on education recently, and his general take on it is that universities and schools in general are kind of useless. In an ideal world, he would like something like what Jenna's describing, where learning is just sort of fun, and you end up learning. It's just sort of a natural consequence of being surrounded by these types of interesting things. I'm not so sure. I think the rigor of having to stand up and defend a position is not just character building, but it really forces you to learn something. Knowledge gained too easily and too casually doesn't really stick. And I think people are just kind of kidding themselves about a lot of stuff.
I know what you're saying, Harry, and I actually agree with that. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but you're right. The knowledge, well, I am a ruthless pursuer of knowledge. I mean, I probably think that's fair to say about me. But Uh, the From what I have seen, yes, people who are driven to find out how something works, they are fascinated by it, or they have some interest level in it, and they get up and affirmatively make that move to go and learn about it. Those people seem to accumulate and retain knowledge and interest level in that field that has real staying power, as opposed to plopping, you know, a doodle crate down in front of your little darling who you want to be an artist. Well,
Yeah, you finish a
here.
module. You finish a module, you learn just enough to finish the module, and then 2 weeks later, nothing is left. Everything that was in your head is gone.
Exactly. It's like those stupid internet security classes that you have to take, and then you have to pass a test at the end. Should you open, you should open emails from senders you don't recognize, true or false, and those are really effective, don't you think, Harry?
I think you should log in as root and open.
Just
Good God.
That's the easy way from a system administration point of view. Just give everybody root.
Yeah,
Or-
that'll
or,
work.
Or change
Work.
everything to 777.
No
Super,
problem at
super
all.
fucking user, chmod 777 and super
Sorry,
user.
Prospero.
You go.
No,
Anyway,
I'm just
sorry.
sitting here thinking, God, do not take these people's advice, okay? Children, don't take their advice.
Yeah.
I-
DEL
These
System
men are
32.
Yeah,
That'll speed things up.
that'll speed things up all the way to your unemployment line.
Exactly.
Honest to
It's,
God.
No, well, you understand what I'm saying. In terms of actually learning something,
Yep.
you really have to not just learn it for the moment. You have to get the neurons fully engaged. And if you're motivated to solve a problem, not much will get you learning more than that. Like if there's something that your kid wants to build, Jim, and they go out and they start researching, figuring out how to do something from scratch, they're going to learn a ton. If you hand them something that's somebody else's idea, here's a goal, here's the stuff to reach the goal, they may or may not learn as much as they would if they
Why
went out
can't
and
they
did the
do
whole thing
both?
on their own.
They can do both.
Yeah.
They can do both. I mean, motivation comes from amazing places. It's not just. It's not. Sometimes just introducing someone to a new idea, or a new concept, or a new subject matter.
Yeah.
We'll-
If they're
we'll do it.
academically inclined, if they're good at academics, they're going to do well regardless. You can't stop them from doing it. It's really more for the kid that kind of isn't self-motivated or who may just need to look at it from a different perspective. Sometimes it's really important to have somebody who knows the material sit down and talk to them and kind of help them find a way to understand something.
Yeah, because sometimes you have to be divergent in methodology with somebody. They're not getting it the way it's being presented in the approved SOL standard of learning kind of nonsense. I mean, we've moved away from making sure that people master aspects of a subject. There's simply no point in moving somebody ahead unless they're getting the fundamentals with each incremental step along. And there are a number of ways to do that through teaching. I mean, part of it has to do with pedagogy as a discipline is garbage. They're not teaching teachers to teach. They're not teaching them methodology. I mean, there are people out there, okay, who are doing good work in ed psych classes and things like that. I mean, they usually
No, but go back to your starting point, because I think you're about to make a really good point. They're not teaching.
No, they're not.
What?
They're not teaching them to teach. They're teaching them to regurgitate. I mean, you don't have people who are experts in their discipline teaching. You have trained chimpanzees repeating what the authorities say should be the lesson of the day. It's become institutionalized learning. There's no child left behind. The entire Department of Education should be yeeted into the sun. This notion that one size fits all education is going to work nationwide is insane. It doesn't work school wide. It doesn't work classroom wide. If you know anything about the different ways that people learn, a single pedagogic style is going to defeat you. You have to be flexible in trying to impart information to people. Some people are visual learners. Some people are oral learners in that they need to be listening. Some people are a combination of both. Some people do best with texts, and they read the information they need. You have certain people who already have gifts of autodidactism. They're not teaching the complexities of how people learn, or the tiering of learning, it's the taxonomy of it. They're just not doing that. I took just a dabbling of education courses. The only thing I got a goddamn thing out of was Ed Psych. I mean, I took fundamentals of education, and it was like discussion of why education is important. And then it broke down into discussions about disadvantaged people and what was more of a problem, race or socioeconomics. And I mean, it was like they were training a bunch of Head Start teachers. And at least in Ed Psych, we were where the rubber meets the road. How people acquire, and if this was just a kind of a general Ed Psych course, if I had really wanted to master pedagogy, I would have pursued Ed Psych, further, because that was the only place where there was any meat to the different concepts of how to teach, and discussing things like divergent versus convergent thinking. Because these trained chimpanzees running these classrooms now are very convergent. They're like a set of railroad tracks that disappear into a single line in the distance. And everything they need to teach is trapped within that kind of sort of triangle. And if they've got somebody who doesn't understand what they're putting out there for them, and they cannot express the idea they're trying to get across in any other way than the way they've been told how to, you're going to lose that person. They're going to be lost. They're not going to get it. They're going to need a tutor who can take a different approach with them.
Can I give my experience as a teacher and now as a mother of school-age children?
Sure, Jenna.
Why did you? So, teaching in the early 2000s, this crap wasn't, in the small town that I taught in, we didn't have to torture our children with.
With
I
what?
got the BS they're putting out now.
Yeah. Well, Beth Castleman says, granted, when I was in school, they didn't teach for tests, but the teachers now are just teaching for the tests. I have to say, I think there's some real accuracy in that. They're programming the kids to game the tests because how the children do on the tests reflects back on the teachers' evaluations.
Absolutely.
And teachers are not evaluated anymore by other teachers, by basically peer evaluation, sitting in a room watching and seeing how good a job they're doing, reaching the children they are supposed to teach.
James called that Shark Tank.
What did you say?
James called that Shark Tank for the teachers.
Shark Tank for the teachers.
When you had to find out your bad things, and
Yeah,
you know what Shark Tank is.
I do know what Shark Tank is. The, we've gone to a place where people are so afraid of conflict, of confrontation. They, they, people really have turned into pussies, in my opinion. They they don't want to do any of the hard things that people used to have to do anymore. And
I 100% agree.
life is not that easy. You can't sit around and play video games and smoke weed all day and have that be your life. You won't produce anything. Your life literally has no meaning. If that's all you do, if that's what you live for, I'm sorry. That to me is you're welcome to it, and it's a free country. Of course, you can do that. But to me, that doesn't constitute much of a meaningful life. You're not developing. You're not becoming a better person. You're not helping others to become better people. You're not enjoying anything other than the serotonin surge you get from leveling up and meeting the next big boss. While you're half stoned out of your mind. And when I see the government giving away free money like this, it's essentially doing that. I think one of the biggest problems that we have is we're going to have a large unemployed and unemployable population going forward that we're either going to have to admit is going to have to starve to death, or we're going to have to figure out a way to support them. Does anybody else think that, or am I alone here?
No, I agree. But some kids, luckily you have my kids to handle it while the rest of the world tries to get it together.
Yeah. But they're just.
I wouldn't let my kids sit around and smoke pot playing video games all day. Go do something productive.
Yeah, but there are plenty of parents who are very busy with their own lives who are not. I mean, I don't even know why they have kids, truth be told.
I've met people that I've
Yeah.
wondered, why did you have them?
It was ticking a box in the things that they were supposed to do, apparently. I just. That's the only explanation I can come up with. For
I
it.
think at home mothers like myself got dogpiled on because we're not in the working force.
Well,
Field.
yes. Yeah, I mean, people have used
Spend a day in my life, dude.
people have used the economics of the situation as quite a battering ram against stay-at-home mothers, claiming that only affluent people, can afford to have a parent stay at home with their kids.
Yeah. Of course, in fairness, the right does it back to the professional woman saying that.
Yes, yeah, they do, and it's stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid when both do it.
Because both are in part right and both are very much wrong. Part of it is we have a Harry's like to speak of time preference. We're a very acquisitive group of people. We want the latest iPhone. We want the latest iPad. We want the latest edition of Windows. We want the latest gaming system. We want the two new cars or the two pretty close to new used cars. We want the bigger house. We want the this. We want the that. And, they've done some studies, particularly among what I'd say middle class to upper middle class people, that they're actually spending an enormous amount of money on childcare and after school programs, which is basically chewing up one of their salaries.
The daycare I
All
worked
in the
at,
name. I'm sorry, Jenna, go ahead.
the daycare I worked at was $1,900 a month for per kid.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
mean, yeah, once you get involved in taxes and that kind of thing, I don't think people are making out as well as they think they are by having both parents work when they've got kids that actually might need adult supervision outside of the schools. People also don't think outside of the box. The different ways there are to generate income, the ability to work part time, to beef
Also,
up, when the kids are in school and be at home. I mean, my mother was a latchkey kid, but she was a latchkey kid in an age that was quite different
Yes, it was.
from present day. And there were some latchkey kids when I was growing up. Not very many, and usually there was a stay-at-home mom next door who took the duty of making sure,
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you did. You relied on your friends. We had community in our neighborhoods.
You knew your next door neighbor's name.
You knew their name. You knew the names of their kids. You usually knew what size clothing they wore.
You
I mean,
usually knew them so well during the day you wouldn't even knock on their door. You would just go into their house.
Yep. Or you'd holler at the kitchen window into their kitchen window. Yo,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know,
exactly. Porch to porch.
yeah. I mean, people. It in the time kind of before Skep and I were coming up, most people lived next door or very proximate to their older relatives. People didn't
that's how I
live
grew up.
that far apart. Um, I grew up never being near my grandparents
Mm.
uh, because of transfers and going to work for corporations that people did, and they transferred them and they moved them, and yippee yippee yippee. People started moving around and being far more mobile and going away from home. But we knew our neighbors, and
Right.
any adult in the neighborhood was the equivalent of your parent. It was just the unspoken, unwritten rule, but it was clear. And it was particularly true of moms. If somebody else's mom got you doing some shit, you just knew that either through telepathy or the magic of the telephone, your mother was going to know before your ass could get back in the house. Mothers have radar in neighborhoods like that. And the story is going to get to them, and there's no point in lying. It just, there isn't. Now,
Yeah.
that's not quite as hideous as it being your grandmother who will drag you by the ear into your home and hand you to your mother, but it's pretty close. That
know,
isn't the case now.
I had a great childhood growing up with my great grandmother on one end of the street, my aunt on the other end, my great uncle.
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah, when my mother let herself into the house, her quasi stepmother's mother was next door. There were eyes on her, that she wasn't going to go missing.
yeah.
But people now, they don't really know their neighbors. They don't bother to. They have friends online.
You know what you need to do? You need to live on a road like I do, where there are only 3 year-round families, and you'll get to know your neighbors.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are those of us who prefer to know our neighbors.
Like
Just
you
out
said
of that is the familiarity of what it was like when we were growing up. But a great number of people function through parasocial relationships now, or they make some kind of very strange family out of work. Which, gee, it can be nice to be friends, or at least friendly, with the people you work with, but there be dragons there as well. I'd caution people on becoming best buds with the people you work with. It can really complicate life.
Are you breaking up with me?
No, I'm not breaking up with you. And there are social relationships on the internet that are as valid as any face-to-face internet ever could. Any relationship could be.
They say that breaking up is hard to do.
Yeah, it is. I think Paul Anka said something about that.
May have mentioned it.
Paul Anka.
Yeah,
What-
remember him?
Oh, that was Neil Sedaka.
You're right, it was. Sorry, I used to mix up those two. They had that same magnificently white bread blandness about them.
Yeah, but he was a little fab.
I have never seen a picture of the two of them together.
I know.
Some dibby bam bam, breaking up his heart.
No, it was. You're right. It was Neil Sedaka.
It was Neil Sedaka. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know, it's whatever.
Well, then he did that that like thing in the '70s, which was kind of like a retake on the song. It was really good, man. It was, remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Paul Anka was the one that was doing the
Having
Kodak,
my baby.
and also the Kodak commercials.
What a lovely way of saying how much you love me.
Stop it. That song was just obnoxious.
So when we get behind, okay.
No, that song.
No.
That song
He
was
was at his
kind of.
best. He was at his best when he was singing "You Are My Destiny" and stuff like that back in the 50s.
Although Paul Anka wrote "My Way."
Yes,
Oh
he
yeah.
did. He did.
You know, everybody that sang that song has died. I'm just saying.
Well, Christ, everybody that's breathed air has died.
Yeah, exactly.
I died a lot.
Everybody who's died
Damn
was
it.
at one time.
You
Swallowed
see through my
saliva.
thinly veiled disguise.
Yeah, I remember Carlin's old bit about saliva will kill you, but only
I've got
once.
a Paul Anka story that I have to share with you. When I lived in Monterey, if you're an officer, a married officer, you get what they call quarters to live in, basically. And we had a little townhouse that my first ex-wife, soon to be ex-wife, and I were living in, and it's in a little housing area that's called La Mesa. And La Mesa is in a beautiful, very exclusive part of Monterey. A bunch of poor, junior officers living up in this really nice area. And the back of the Paul Anka estate used to backed up to the border of the La Mesa housing area, and we used to see the Ankas, and they had this like barbecue complex at the bottom of this hill, right, not too far from the fence. And it wasn't a long walk to part of their house, which was this sprawling affair up on a hill. And we used to see them down there, cooking chicken on their barbecue.
Sorry.
And they would always wave at the officers and always had nice things to say about the officers at the PG school. But the Ankas were known friends of the school and good neighbors and really pretty classy people. They both had matching $100,000 Mercedes, which $100,000 back in 1977 was a lot of money for a car. And we just thought they were awesome. Anyway, I don't know why I'm telling a story, but it was interesting to live, rubbing shoulders with somebody of that class, being a little lieutenant, junior grade, and then later lieutenant. It was just an unusual time in my life. It was that was an interesting place. I miss Monterey. Down to my bones. Of all the places I've lived, and I love Colorado, but of all the places I've lived, Monterey was hands down the best. Hands down. Anyway, so you got me thinking about it with Paul Anka. So I granted myself a spurg hole.
Hey, that's fine.
I'm back now.
Memories like the corners of my mouth.
Anyway, I feel like we're kind of spinning down a little bit here, guys. I think we're going to call it about 15 minutes early. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you, chat, for coming, being a part of this, listening to us prattle on for a couple of hours. We do this for you, and but we do it for ourselves too. Thank you to my panel for being a part of this tonight. And but we're going to call it a night, and we will be with you next week, same time, same bat channel. But for tonight, zoo is closed. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Peace.
Good night.